Good morning. This is Kathy Sipple, and I've got Stephen Donaco here with me. It is April 13th, bright and early, 7 a.m. Central, and this is just the second session that we've had of the CoThrive Thought Leader Jam session. Did I get that right?
That's it. Thought Leader Jam session.
Yeah, so just like a quick review of, how you can join us if you're interested in this, or I guess if you've already found us, then maybe you already know. But if you just are stumbling on this via YouTube or some other way, anybody who is a member of CoThrive Collective is going to see this in our events section. We've got a Zoom link, so that's the way that those folks would all know. But anybody from the outside, anybody not a part of that group, they would most likely want to start just by going to this shortened link, which is bit.ly, that's bit.ly/CoThrive Jam. And that takes you to the spreadsheet where, it has kind of an outline of who has said, they might be here or what they might want to talk about. And last week, Stephen got us kind of started off by asking for a recap of CoThrive's evolution and asking for insight about continued co-creation of the community. In anticipation that Charlotte might be here, and here she is now, just right on cue. Hey, Charlotte, welcome. I was just talking about you, and you show up. So this spreadsheet is a place where anybody, doesn't have to be a member of CoThrive Collective, can just put down their name and topic or question that you might be interested in. So I went ahead and populated it for this week again, just in anticipation that Charlotte might be joining us. I'm always interested in regenerative solutions and social permaculture. That's going to be my, I guess my theme probably throughout till I die, possibly. But Charlotte, I believe, is the first person who ever talked to me about open space technology. And I'm still getting, my feet wet around it. But basically, this very model that we're using with this spreadsheet was adapted from the open space technology weekly call that works the exact same way. So I just thought if Charlotte wanted to say anything about her, experience with open space, and that was one idea.
I've never done online open space, so this is kind of cool.
Do you want to say what your experience was with open space?
Well, real quick,
oh, wait a sec, Steve.
I just want to say I've done online open space before, so
you have?
I just want to just say that real quick. So
very cool. Yeah. Can you guys maybe we can hear about the live, and then Stephen, I'd love to hear your experience with it, because I'm just learning. So anybody who's got more experience than me can certainly be my teacher.
Yeah, I've actually had several meetings that were like that, but the first one was at the Midwest Permaculture transition workshop. It was for 3 days up at Pierce Cedar Creek in Michigan. They had who are those characters at Midwest Permaculture? Bill
Mollison? No.
Well, anyway, you can Google Midwest Permaculture, and it's that outfit.
Okay.
And well, at least at the time, they were hosting all kinds of transition workshops and things. But you can go there and get your permaculture certification, and they have all kinds of resources. But yeah, so they just talked about open space as a technique for, conducting meetings. And so then we did it, and it's basically the same thing we did at your meeting, Kathy, the Time Bank meetup in Valpo, or at the Dunes Learning Center. And you just brainstorm your topics, and then using paper instead of, a worksheet, I know this is probably rehearsal in case I'm to describe it in a podcast, knowing you. I don't know that I'm the person to do that, because
that's okay. You know what? This is like our work session, so it's whoever shows up, whatever information they have.
Right. I know. I'm just not very good at verbalizing.
That's okay. Well, why don't? It looks like you're finishing your breakfast, so why don't we let Stephen talk about his online version?
Yeah, sure. So I did open space. I was introduced to it, and I did it as part of the one of the Shift Leadership Academy modules that I participated in last year, the Shift Leadership Academy program. So we did so Christine Whitney Sanchez is an evolutionary leadership consultant who facilitates open space sessions, and she's done it live. And actually, with our group, was the first time she did it online because we were all geographically dispersed. We would meet every week on Zoom, and we were all over the world, literally. So Christine had said, well, I'm going to do something a little pioneering here and try open space with you all online through Zoom. So we did it, and it actually was pretty effective. Now I think doing it live is probably a little bit more powerful because of the personal connection. And actually, there's a tactile sense of actually being able to write on paper, because the whole idea is that, at least the way Christine explained it, was that you would all be on a table and you'd have paper and you'd all be writing, right? And it's very kind of dynamic that way. Mm-hmm. Now we did it with a shared Google Doc, so everybody had access to one document, and we were all able to contribute to it in real time. Which once you kind of got into the groove of it, it flowed pretty well. So I would say live. Doing it live is the ideal way to brainstorm with people, but the realities of being geographically dispersed and having the online option, it worked out pretty well. And I'll say the object of the open space session that we had done for that Leadership Academy was to come up with a project or initiative to take your evolutionary leadership out into the world. Mm-hmm. Right. So we were brainstorming around different projects or programs that we might come up with after the academy had ended. It actually was a process that at the beginning feels somewhat chaotic, but then as people contribute, it begins to gel. Mm-hmm. So it was neat.
The rule of 2 feet. That was something.
Exactly. Yeah. You can. Yep. You could walk. If you felt led to move on to a different brainstorming session, you can do that. Yep.
Walk away. Okay. Cool. So again,
dock away.
What's that?
Dock away.
Dock away.
Dock. Google Doc.
Oh, gotcha. Doc. Okay, I get it. I was like, it's a little early. I need more coffee first before I get humor. Well, cool. So, it's kind of neat though that I had no idea what that was when we did our, maybe I had some idea because Charlotte, you probably talked to me about it. Maybe it planted the idea in my head, even though I didn't exactly know what I was doing back in January. I feel like we did uncover some, ideas of systems, but because it was just a few hours, people in a room that I don't know how to ever wrangle all those cats back into one herd again,
Well, wait, did you type up what was written down and then?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. So although we can't be live, what I'd like to do now is try to transition some of those people that were most active around those conversations maybe into Google Docs, if that's one way to do it, or this other tool that Charlotte, I think you've kind of been on and are getting to know is Lumio. I mean, do you guys see any preference or advantage of using Google Docs versus Lumio, or maybe it's not an either or but a both and?
I would say either or. It could be both and. I think Lumio gives you the possibility to do open space as a not limited by time, right? Because
Mhm.
people can come in whenever they want and contribute to it.
Mhm.
And I think it's got a nice structure for that. Now you could do that with a Google Doc too. People can go
Mhm.
into it at any time.
Mhm.
So I think it's just maybe just a matter of preference of the facilitator.
Again,
But
One thing I thought about the Lumio, does it have notifications like Facebook has notifications? I'm just thinking of
I
an
think it does.
I think so. I think I've gotten emails that said like, yesterday on Lumio or something like that. Let me just see real quick if I can verify that.
Yeah. And I think you can set your preferences for notifications.
Yeah.
Whether
The
you
thing
want
of it is, if it's in a Google Doc, like I'm working on 2 different projects right now with a Google Doc,
Mm-hmm.
but you tend to just
you don't really know when people
ignore it. You're trying to meet the immediate people who are notified. Maybe it's just me,
Mm-hmm.
but whoever's notifying me gets preference, even if it's something silly. Like if I get a Facebook notification, it dings
Mm-hmm.
and I go look at it. Maybe it's my adult ADD, but it's like those Google Docs just sit there and I'm not working on it.
Yeah. Well, all right. Can I throw this out at you guys and you tell me if this works or if this is accurate in your experience? But I'm thinking, what I heard and the reason that we're here at this exact time twice in a row or 2 weeks in a row, and that I'm committing to doing this on an ongoing basis is some people needed a time that was consistent so that they could just set it on their Google Calendar and know that 7 a.m. on Thursday is the thought leader jam session so that they didn't have to go in and check the office hours and that kind of thing. So that's the consistent part. This is live, it's interactive. So whoever can make it to this, great. We'll get the ball rolling, around thoughts. The people who want to continue on that chain can join the Lumio group and start threads of conversations. You do get notifications. Are you seeing this, Charlotte?
Yeah.
Okay, so we haven't had a lot of notifications. So again, I think that stirring the pot here will hopefully get those threads happening. And then the people you meet in the threads are perhaps the people that you'd want to go deeper with, and then you'd create a Google Doc and go into the nitty gritty. Because I think if we try to do all the nitty gritty on Lumio, that might get a little crazy.
Buried.
But if we could almost do like I've been using more table of contents kind of thing on Google Doc just because I tend to go deep. So maybe if we created a Google Doc that cross-referenced, I don't know if I'm getting crazy here, but I'll tell you what, my homework by next week at this time is I'll get somebody to help me with it. Maybe try to propose a shell of a Google Doc that could be the master of the Google Docs. Actually, I just remembered, I think I might have a template that works for this. Like the way that I know Tony, who introduced me to both Lumio and that open space document, is he's a member of this time bank coordinator group. Well, I don't need to tell you that right now, but this time bank coordinator group, I think they already might have a system that I could tap into that organizes.
Why reinvent the wheel?
Exactly. So again, it kind of goes back to
see what other people.
Yeah, my love for these like regenerative models. It just seems like, using patterns already in place, they're successful, seems kind of like that. We're modeling that behavior.
This is neat. I don't know how to do all this on a Google Doc, set up all these different colors and.
Do you want to learn? It'll take me seriously less than 30 seconds.
Oh, well, that's okay.
All right, just in case anybody wants to know this, all you do is you just highlight the cell or the range of cells that you want the color to go in, and then you just go up to the little paint bucket and you choose the color that you want to fill it with. That's it.
Oh, okay. That's easy.
Now you know. So if there's a super easy thing that I can, just knock out like that and that helps you, I'm happy to do it. But anyway, does that seem like something worth trying? Does that system sound reasonable?
Yeah. Now, would this be the time bank? Is that what we're? or
Well,
CoThrive in general?
yeah, great question. Okay. And Stephen and I kind of talked this through. He's really been helping me get some of my
I'm
thoughts a little bit
sorry,
more so.
because I thought it was 8 p.m., but
What's
it's
that?
all right. I'm sorry I missed yesterday morning because I thought it was 8 p.m. So.
I'm so sorry, but you know what? The good news is I did record it, and my apologies. I think that's just telling me that I need redundancies built into my system. I need somebody to like proofread my events because I do so many events that it's hard to get all of it right.
Can you send me the link to the recording or?
Yeah, once I process it, I will. It's not up yet, but
Don't rehash that because I don't have very much time here because it's 8 o'clock here, so I gotta go.
okay. All right. Well, let me just show you real quick. I hear you. Okay, well, stay as long as you want. What's that, the rule of 2 feet? If you can't,
That's right.
you said it yourself. It's like,
I'm kind of getting pulled by a shepherd's crook away.
okay, well, you know what? Whoever can be here reasonably, be here. But we're gonna flow how we flow. If you have to go, that's fine.
This is usually a good time, by the way.
Okay, well, good, because I have committed to it. So that's great. If you can come, you can come.
So
It's
Thursday morning. We're gonna try to do this Thursday morning.
Yes. We're gonna do.
That works for me. If I can plan it,
We're going to do more than try. We're going to do it.
We're gonna do it exactly.
Yeah, I'll just tell people, hey, look, I'm busy until 10.
Okay. All right. Well, let me just quickly tell you something that I did last week that I'm trying to do also to help people navigate through past video. I will probably only do this for CoThrive Thought Leader Jam session just because it is a little bit time consuming. It probably took me 45 minutes to go back and, have a detailed description of what we talked about. But you can go to, the YouTube channel, and then you can basically just go down in the description, and you can click right on the minute mark, and it says what we're talking about. And so you don't have to watch the entire thing, the whole hour-long thing. If you just wanted to get into the part where it talks about time banking, entering the picture, for instance, you can just click on that, and it takes you to roughly a 6.5-minute segment, about that.
That's the part. Yeah, I missed that those were clickable. So that's.
Oh,
yeah.
Social permaculture game. That's what I'm interested in.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm interested in that too. And Steven's actually been helping me. Is that something you guys want to talk about today, or what?
No, you already talked about it. That's fine. It's your YouTube channel. And
Okay, but let me go back to the point that you asked Charlotte about time banking and how that fits in. My idea is that to come to this jam session, I want to invite, thought leaders of all stripes, whether they're in the CoThrive Collective, whether they're in the CoThrive Time Bank, just any thought leaders that can help us move the bar. I want to keep this thing that we're doing right now today, the jam session, as open as possible. This is like our most permeable, there is no barrier basically. But to get into the Lumio, I would like everybody who's on the Lumio thread to be a member of the Time Bank, so that we know we can honor one another with time energy at the very least. So if you have a project that you want to work on, or that you're going to try to draw resources from the time bank, we won't have to do those mental gymnastics to think like, oh, is this somebody that's in the time bank? All of the people on Lumio may not be business owners. I think I have to do one of those little diagrams like, jam session is the universe of all thought leaders. The CoThrive Collective are people who are business owners. Thought leaders might be both of those, or they might not be. They might not be business owners, and frankly, they might not be able to have the schedule that allows them to come to the jam session. But they all should be time bank members.
So like a Venn diagram sort of.
I know. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay,
so I think we got to talk it through before I can draw the picture of it, but there is a logic there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, the people that come to Lumio, these are like going to be the community weavers, right? These are the people that are going to maybe want to be picking up these threads of conversations and weaving them into something beautiful. And we don't know how much time it's going to take, or who's going to be asking whom for what kind of time or resources. But if we do ask, at least knowing that everybody's in the time bank here, we can keep track and honor the hours. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and
Yep.
the idea would be they can drop in anytime. There's
Yeah.
no specific,
Yeah.
everybody can participate no matter what their schedule is.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I would love to talk a little bit about the game idea, and I did put it on here, Charlotte. I started a thread.
Yeah.
You got the credit. So you had mentioned like, hey, if you show up to a jam session, get a token.
Yeah, well, I wanted to qualify that because of poor Susie, Susie Redfern. It's not enough just to show up. So after we logged off, I saw where she was like, well, can I get credit for coming? And I'm like, well, okay, there's got to be some qualifier. You can't just show up and then divert the conversation and not, I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you. So I think what we got
discriminating against anybody, but you got to have certain qualifications to show up. You got to be able to contribute.
Right. Well, and that's, I think what we're all getting to is the contribution is what makes it regenerative, not extractive, and
Yeah.
so, yeah, I don't know of a model out there to look at, but that's why we're here. That's why we're thought leaders. That's why we're jamming.
How are you gonna pick and choose who gets to be a thought leader?
Well, again, anybody that shows, and so maybe getting a token for showing up to thought leader is not the thing. I think I do want to
be a benevolent dictator and award the tokens depending on the contribution.
All right, Stephen, do you have anything wise? Do you have anything wise here to say? I don't want to be the dictator for sure.
No, I think part of this is if people attend a thought leader jam. I agree with Charlotte. I agree with you completely that contribution is really important, and it gives there needs to be a sense of that in order to help this whole community grow, everybody contributes. So I guess I'm sort of the mind that if with the thought leader jam, that if it's sort of self-selected, right? That people, if they feel they can contribute, generally they will. Now there might be an outlier here or there that just want to sit in the back of the room
and get the token.
And get the token, but I don't know. And maybe if that's what happens, it's really just it's an invitation to that person to say we really are interested in what you think, what you have to contribute. Yeah, and if if the invitation keeps getting extended and they don't, then I think they probably will step away. Right.
They're just coming to get the tokens, and they don't necessarily. They're not necessarily able to contribute.
Well, here's the thing too. We might have one answer that's already under our nose. We're saying time bank, like not everybody on the jam session is a member of the time bank. So maybe just joining the time bank, you get so much, maybe you get a token, and it doesn't have to be one token. Obviously you could say that's worth 10 tokens, just joining the time bank, and then, attending an orientation or facilitating an orientation. Like Charlotte, I kind of put it on you to see if you could do an on-the-spot orientation with Christine, the newest member, because she wants to help you. And if she has to wait until I can give her the orientation for you to be helped, then I'm going to bottleneck it,
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm like, if you can talk her through the software so that you can get what you need, that's kind of a win. But you could get time credit for that. So does it have to be called a token, or could we just keep score in time?
Time bank, yeah.
Like the time bank sort of already suggests a mechanism for keeping score, and I hadn't really even thought of this.
Yeah. Then how do you log, or who assigns it, or how do you?
Members do. So again, it's kind of back to that open space kind of thing. either the person getting or receiving the time is able to record that transaction.
So it's
So,
just honor system. Basically.
well, I mean, you've got checks and balances. If you say that you gave Christine, 2 hours and she's like, well, you only gave me a half an hour for an orientation, then, she can say, I don't know that that's accurate, or.
Okay, so let's look at this. This is a real practical example.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody wants to get hours with you, Kathy, to
Mm-hmm.
help them with their stuff, just like in office hours. Okay, so let's take my sister-in-law, Andrea, as an
Mm-hmm.
example. She's getting help with her buttons, bands, and bows Etsy store.
Right.
That's kind of one thing that you're kind of trying to get away from a little bit. And so she just comes to these and just sits there just so she can get hours with you.
Oh, well, I don't, can we put a pin in that for right now? Because I feel like this is kind of coming up with all kinds of different things for me, that she's not a member of the time bank, number one. So therefore, I just don't have a good mechanism for tracking time. She's doing exactly what she was supposed to do based on the old model. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with how she's been behaving based on what the rules were. So
Yeah.
I don't want to make anybody wrong, like that they're doing something that they weren't supposed to be doing. I was the game master. I didn't involve people in creating the game, and I created a game that was not the best. So that's on me. But that's why we're here, is to look at how can we make it, better.
Fair.
So Andrea, she has the business that she has. She lives in Florida. She's just got all kinds of things that maybe, if we were saying, hey, who can we throw into the social permaculture equation? She's not going to be able to start plants for you. She's not going to be able to do, a lot of things that you can do when you're local. So anyway, I'd rather use like the Christine analogy though, because she is in the time bank.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I really don't want to make anybody wrong here though, because again, I just
it's
feel
not
like,
that I want to make anybody wrong. It's just I want to set this up from the get-go so it's very straightforward and it's not like, well, what I really want is time with Kathy, but I got to do this, this, and this. Oh, okay, I'll do this.
yeah.
This.
And so I think that's kind
I
of,
used to.
that's a different conversation. And what I realize is that I need to give those people something, but not 6 hours a week. That's why I'm recategorizing those 6 hours that I spend each week on trying to grow CoThrive into doing partly what we're doing right now, the Thought Leadership Jam session, part of it more on like time bank, and some of it will still be member help, but it will be a reduced amount.
And you're going to group those people together, right? Those of us who need help with certain tasks, like if we need help with MailChimp, we're going to have a certain time within the month maybe set up to do MailChimp.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're getting a little deep in the weeds about that one thing that's not going to be broad enough to maybe interest like thought leaders, but just to honor you with an answer, the energy that I'm trying to move that, the way that I'm trying to organize that where it would still make sense is for me to be willing to give my time, but to help more than one member at a time. Okay. So somehow that member will have to take more responsibility to coalesce other members' interest, either by picking a popular topic, by giving me enough time to promote it, whatever. So I'm not cutting those people out. I'm just going to change the way that I'm giving them the time.
Okay, I think
so
that's good.
What the problem that I was seeing is that it was turning into being like one-to-one, many one-to-one conversations, which is never really what that objective was supposed to be about. It was supposed to be about leveraging time to help multiple people. And we were doing just very technical kind of boring stuff that wasn't generally helpful to others. And so therefore it was not recorded. Like I want to do something that's like recording.
Recordable. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, that's that.
I have another quick thought on then in terms of the engagement question, because I think it is important. Another thing with the thought leader work, jam work, is that every session like this is concluded with a thread in Lumio where everybody is invited to contribute to some sort of post-processing of the session.
Yes.
Right. So, continue, invitation to either continue the conversation on Lumio or at least give us your, some sort of concluding thought that you had about what we covered. And then that can also, then it's also open for people who didn't make that week, but still were interested in, and maybe they went back and watched the video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's a little bit more of an organic participation going on that's beyond just the 1 hour, right?
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
And really just to be pretty clear that we really want everyone to contribute to that thread, at least something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking sort of a page out of George Cow's playbook with his groups, because he's really good about just stating that, because he uses Facebook, he uses secret groups
Mm-hmm.
for his like group coaching, and he encourages people to contribute at least like two threads a week.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't really audit this, but he just says, in order for the community to thrive, we need everybody to contribute. And my recommendation is that you contribute 2 posts a week, that you like at least 5 things. And they're they're arbitrary numbers, but the point is that he really is underscoring the importance of people contributing.
Mm-hmm.
No, I like that. I like that arbitrary numbers, because see, I'm a person who needs that structure.
Yeah.
I need numbers to say, okay, you got to do this, this, and this. Otherwise, I'll blow it up, space it out, or blow it off.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, because for the like us left brain types,
Mm-hmm.
who
I just would just space it out. I'd be
and sometimes, like, another reason why I wanted to do the virtual co-working, this sounds kind of crazy, but my thought was not even that we would be so actively talking and not have it worthy of recording, but just to say, hey, this is the hour where we collectively work on liking those threads. I mean, you can do it. You can do it on your own. You can absolutely go do it on your own, but here's the work time. Like, here's when we're actually going to kind of do the work.
I need that structure.
So if people want to do it, great. If they don't, then they get a notification that says,
hey, you haven't done your likes.
Yeah, remember, it's work time, so at least you're kind of getting a nudge to be like, oh yeah, I'm not with them, so therefore I've got to carve out a little time somewhere in my week.
Yes, that's good. Have some accountability.
Would that kind of work?
Mm-hmm. Accountability.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
And so, I'm thinking of a couple other models that, I've just seen. I don't know if they're the best, but like, I think they're interesting. Nancy Moldenauer, that organizes the Michigan City Green Drinks, like, she's really good at the end of the green drinks, like giving everybody a sheet of paper and saying, hey, these are 10 things or 5 things or whatever that are impacting the environment right now. Like, here, if you're going to do something this week, here's a list of 5, or here's a list of 10. Like, call your congressman,
right.
call this
I've been
person.
to meetings in the past few months where there's actually the letter, and all you have to do is sign it and put it in the envelopes there, and addresses, and let's just do it right now at the meeting before we leave. So
yeah, and so I mean, obviously we're not a political group, but I guess the equivalent of that, is there something that I could probably put that on the end of the the YouTube video that we do today, just to say, here are the things that we talked about, here are your choices, here are the Lumio threads that you can connect to.
Go to these, and I need to see a contribution there from each of you.
Okay.
To make it.
So I think we're getting the mechanism. So do you guys have some threads? Like, what's some community weaving that you personally want to do that would make, your life better, but that would also enhance the community and just enhance the world?
Well, I've got a project right now that I'm trying to write a proposal, and it's for getting at-risk youth out to the farm. So I've reached out to several people in my community, and I would love to get that together into some sort of, because I've got the Google Doc, but nobody's really, for the same reasons we just talked about, they're not getting into the Google Doc because other things are more pressing and they're not, and I think we could really have a good chance of getting a grant from our county community foundation, because this is something that I've been researching. I don't want to get too much into the specifics, but the kids that we're looking at actually have afternoons free. They're actually not kicked out of school, but their IEPs dictate that they can only go to school in the morning. And I have Friday afternoons free. And it's like, okay, all we got to do is round up these kids who are rattling around at home. A lot of times they're just at home and either their parents are sleeping or not there or working or on drugs or whatever. They're just alone in the afternoons, these at-risk kids, ages like 4th grade through 8th grade. So the idea then is to round up these kids in some kind of organized program or whatever and say, hey, we're going to have a farm day every Friday for 5 or 6 weeks in the spring and 5 or 6 weeks in the fall. And so they have a repeat experience, and the transportation would be paid for by the grant, and I wouldn't charge here, or I could have something from the grant to pay for my time. So that's a project that I'm working on. I already have talked to like 6 or 7 community people. I've talked to a church. I've talked to a South Bend School Corporation employee. I have a volunteer or actually someone who would like to be paid to bring the kids, and she's already got a rapport with some of the kids. Notre Dame is interested, their Center for Social Concern. So I have a variety of institutional groups and individuals that are interested in working on this project, but I am having trouble organizing it. So I don't know if that's a good example or not.
I think it's a great example.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like a win-win-win. It's like it helps kids. I know there are all kinds of documented benefits of all kinds of kids, but especially at-risk kids working, with the earth and having that connection to nature. So I think that would be a great thing. I don't have the answers readily available, so I think it would be a wonderful test to see how this thing works,
I would love to test that unless you guys have something more pressing.
So
No, I think it's great. I have some ideas too on, because I know somebody who's doing something similar, but so maybe that's like I could contribute those to a thread. And
well, I have a Google Doc. That's all I have right now.
yeah. So be
okay.
glad to.
So can I feed back to you what I think the process is that we just said, would work, is coming out of this thing, the Thought Leader Jam session, Charlotte would create a thread on Lumio naming this project, right?
And I need to recruit these people to join the time bank?
Well, not at the beginning. They could just watch the YouTube video. Once I process it, go to this part, see what it's about. And then if you can round them up to talk at a future session, then you would put your name here and say, here's my topic or question. I want to talk about my at-risk youth project, farm visit. And then certainly I can talk to you about it, but it's going to be a lot more compelling if you could invite those people to a future jam session.
Okay.
And so if their names were here and they're like, I want to talk about that too, I want to talk about that too, but we've got a critical mass of people, that we could just jam on that for one of these future sessions. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I would love
It's
that.
more of a question than me being the know-it-all, because I do not know it all. I really don't.
No, I think, yeah.
Would that work, Stephen?
I could get
Yeah, I think so.
And
on here.
then, so that's Charlotte's thing. And I'm sure Stephen, he's always cooking something up. So I know you're heading out of town soon, so maybe next week isn't the best week for you, but is there a project that you want to kind of have a jam session around in the future?
Yeah. So the short answer is yes. And I have to think about like what's the most appropriate. Because there's a couple different directions potentially.
Okay.
Right. So, but yeah, let me think about that.
Okay. Yeah. No pressure, but if you have
Yeah.
something, that's great. Um, so
Okay, so this is today, and you put something down,
I
and we're supposed
did.
to talk about that.
In your honor, I was just like, okay, well, let's maybe talk about open space and your experience, which we did. And then, your needs that you just posted in the time bank, you said you needed somebody to do your seed starts, for instance.
Yeah, that's kind of expiring, but
Okay.
I didn't
Well,
get anybody in time.
but that's why I wanted you to talk to Christine, because she's a permaculture designer, teacher. She's like gangster with seed starts. She
Okay,
really,
well, I can
she's
talk.
she's great at it. So that's why I wanted to connect you to immediately. Obviously, she lives in Valpo, so not ideal, but I also put in there, Lisa Harris, I know, goes back and forth quite frequently. So
Yeah, she could totem.
if,
Okay, I actually did get back with her, so we're working on that.
okay, good. And she's actually teaching a permaculture class here in Valpo.
And I invited 5 different people to go with me,
Oh,
and
are you going to come?
I'm going to try.
Oh,
If
that's
I
great.
don't want to come in a car by myself. I think that's not a good use of resources. So
Yeah.
if I can fill my car, I'll come.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's very cool. So yeah, and that was just kind of
But
neat.
I shouldn't be here. I should be on a different date, right? Or you're putting this here because we just talked about it?
This is what I willed into existence today, and now we're talking about it. So now it's a bigger thing for next time.
Yeah, but why is my name on this date?
Because I knew you were coming, because you RSVP'd
Oh.
you RSVP'd on CoThrive Collective. So this is just kind of a record of who was here.
Oh, I see. You're okay. I thought you were putting that in response to working on this project together, the one that I want to brainstorm about.
No, this is today.
This is just today.
So, and I'm not going to fill it in for future. I'm going to just create the dates, and then I'll allow, you or Steven or anybody else listening to, again, put their topic or question, in that
Okay, so
future
you
date.
already have the future dates set up in this Google Doc?
No, I just said I will do that though. And then we got Scott Mason. Long time no see, buddy. Can you?
Okay, so you're gonna put the dates in, and then we go in, we talk to our different people that we want to jam with, and we try to get them to commit to coming at this time.
Well, a thought leader jam session definitely works better if you have multiple people, So I will jam with anybody, but if you got some people that you think could help the jam, then invite them to that date, and then it kind of becomes, the topic for that week.
Gotcha.
So the idea, I think, is to let people self-organize a bit. So do you guys know Scott? Scott Mason actually developed the CoThrive logo. He's my buddy up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I haven't seen him for ages, so it's really wonderful to have his smiling face again.
Morning.
Hi, Scott.
Morning.
And he's also a jazz musician in a 22-piece, or how many piece band?
It varies, but yeah, around 20. So we've got some gigs going this summer and I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and you were helping out with a line of clothing, I know, for dog owners, all kinds of cool, interesting things that you've got going on.
Yeah, no, a mix of things, but certainly room for improvement on some points that might come up in jam sessions or whatever coming down the road here.
Good. Well, you know what? I'm going to send a link to all of you to this video once it's processed, and you'll certainly be able to go back and watch last week's as well, to kind of get you caught up. I'm not going to go through all of that again, but basically we're trying to kind of allow people to self-organize and say what it is that you want to talk about. So Scott, I would definitely invite you to claim a future date and put your idea out there that you'd like to discover. This is open to anybody with a good idea. It doesn't require, being a member or whatever. We just want to explore good ideas. They just have to be good for, you certainly, your community, the person, or the client that you're trying to help, and, the world at large. If it's a big idea, certainly that's going to excite more thought leaders to want to spend time on it. So, but Scott, the reason I've been really thinking of you is I know you had messaged me within the last week or two saying that you were willing to contribute more graphics, more graphic design.
Well, that's the thing. In Milwaukee, I'm a little bit remote, so I can't attend some of the face-to-face stuff. But certainly, if there's a graphic need, that might be something I could, work cooperatively remotely, and then, see if I can do that as my contribution, since, the in-person stuff is a little tougher.
Yeah, I totally understand. Well, what I would really love to do is to ask you to join the time bank, and I will send you, again, a link for how to do that. And then if you're willing to, have your time be honored for your payment, then you can also withdraw things that you can receive remotely,
Sure.
And so for people that don't have a business, but then, want like my time, and certainly there are times when I just blab, it's not necessarily useful. People can reward me with time. If you feel like you got something out of it, then you can say, hey, that was really kind of helpful that Kathy showed up. The time bank really gives us a mechanism for keeping score. But the idea, Scott, that I'd love to, and actually this is kind of what I had wanted to talk about previously, was doing a game, something like this one, Scott, called Wildcraft.
Okay.
Charlotte has a copy as well. It's a board game, but I really want to make an interactive online game that can take people through some of these good ideas that we're uncovering. And that's all I've got for you right now. But once you join the time bank, then what I can do is add you to this other group, Lumio, which does not depend on
Okay.
meeting in real time. And then I could add you to this CoThrive game idea thread, and you'd be the first person on it besides the people on this call already. But does that sound right, guys? Stephen,
Yeah.
Charlotte, did I just do what I said?
I mean, he might be able to really get this in practical terms of, having some graphics and having, some structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think this has been successful for me. I'll just say, as not knowing what was going to happen at the beginning of this session, and where I feel that we moved the ball today, is that we defined our technology, reaffirmed that the Thought Leader Jam session is the open space. This is where we invite everybody to come in and join. The way to get there, again, is to go to bit.ly/CoThrive Jam. So anybody, whether you're a CoThrive Collective member or not, you guys can share that. You can invite people that you think can honor, your projects. Charlotte, you're going to take a future date to talk about your at-risk kids coming out to the farm, right?
Okay. And so what I do is I just share this link with them and tell them to get their name on there.
I'd say if you want to have it be successful, you might want to take it a little bit. You might want to take a little bit more control of it than that, because if they don't know what this is, I would probably just use the good old-fashioned email or phone to say, hey, I want to explore this topic. Do you have time? Maybe make it, next week or the following Thursday, give them a few choices. Does that make sense? No? Did I lose you guys? Okay, I can't hear anybody. Am I being heard?
No, I hear you.
Yep.
You do? Okay. All right. I mean, one tool that I use to give people choices is doodle.com. Have you guys ever used that?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, we just lost Charlotte. Oh, there she is. Okay, so what I would do if I were you, Charlotte, is just to say, schedule an event and say, you don't have to call it a jam session, but you could say, explore at-risk youth project.
Idea.
And then, for the dates that you would give them, the time proposals, you would only give them Thursday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern, right? And so then once you kind of got some agreement with those people, you could then send them the link and say, okay, here's how to join the meeting. And you would fill out the spreadsheet then.
Yeah, a lot of these people are school type people, so I don't know whether they'll be able to come at 8 a.m.
Okay. Well, if it can't be part of this process, at least you've got a process that you could then go and do yourself if you'd like. or you know somebody in the time bank that has this technology, you could ask me to help you facilitate a meeting just like this outside of this hour. You know, I'd be willing to do that as a time bank thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And so Scott, we have, you know, a few minutes left. Stephen said he needed some time to think about which idea he wanted to bring. You've got me intrigued that you said you've got a few ideas. Do you want to give us any kind of?
Well, I think mostly some skill things that I need help on. Obviously, there's little projects I see like on the news as far as interesting things that could translate into, you know, something in Milwaukee or even my own house. So, you know, like the microgreen thing that I saw sounded really interesting, but I might not be able to pull that together. But I'm currently kind of curious on how to like optimize efforts on Facebook to promote posts, because we've got a client who's, you know, spending a fair amount of money to do that, but I'm not sure if they're especially optimizing how they spend their dollars to get the best return on it. And then also we've got a new client that wants to finally update their website after we did their last website, I think about 9 years ago, and they're moving to a WordPress site now, or hopefully we're going to pitch to them. But there again, they might be able to, you know, do well as far as getting into the mix with a new WordPress website, and then also potentially, you know, blogging or even a Facebook presence there as well.
Okay. All right. So all of those things sound like things I would be reasonably confident in helping you with, but I think we also have other members of the time bank that are excellent, that do that, you know, for their full-time job. So I really think joining our time bank, even though you're geographically not near,
Okay.
all of these things could be delivered remotely. I do want to say, I just talked to somebody earlier in the week that I found out had given another member like nearly 40 hours on a website. And I'm thinking like, that's kind of a lot. You know, we might be dancing around the edges of IRS notification where it's like, that's a contractor, you know. Like the time bank generally, I would say, is a good way to, you know, get advice, to do tweaks, to do things like that. You know, sometimes people might end up doing an entire website. Usually it's a good way to get people's help, get the ball started. But if it ends up being like a full-blown job that you would otherwise pay for, you know, typically it is a little bit more, you know, reasonable to kind of move it into a contractor type of a scenario. But you could definitely get insights, get the ball started, you know, figure out if you like working with that person, you know, through time bank.
Sure. Okay. Then well, that'd be a good place to start, just to see, you know, what all is involved. And if there are, you know, more than 10 hours of work, then yeah, it would probably be a good idea to go ahead and get a more formal agreement.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely want to do as much as we can, you know, through the time bank, and it's certainly great, but, you know, understanding that everybody does have a need to earn actual money for the thing that they have chosen to do for their occupation. So, you know, if it is something that they do primarily to earn money, they may decide to limit the number of hours that they do for time bank. Let's put it that way. But I'll tell you just a few people that I think could help you with some of those things are Sarah Hyland. I mean, she was like VP of Digital Services at a local ad agency for 17 years, and now she's on her own. Jennifer Shellhart did Charlotte's website, right?
No, don't give her to him because I want her.
Everybody wants her. She's really cool. She's a great lady. And she happens to actually do aquaponics as well, Scott. So she might even know a little something about microgreens on the side. You know, she knows all kinds of interesting things. But anyway, I think this has been successful. Like we're stirring the pot. We're giving, you know, I think what I've heard about the time bank is it just doesn't look all that compelling to list services or to, you know, look for services. But when you know the people behind the talents, then that kind of gets you excited, you know, because if you're only looking for one thing, you might not realize that Jennifer is the same person who does aquaponics, for instance.
Right.
Sarah, who I just mentioned, she actually is also president of our local food council. So back to microgreens. I mean, I don't know that she grows them, but she's super healthy. She just ran a food expo, you know, last month. So like both of those people have overlap into both areas that you had talked about. And then Barbara Kane, she's another one that's in there, and I don't think she's being utilized as well as she could, but optimizing Facebook posts, she would be probably great at, as well as Sarah. I can do it too, but I'm really trying to get more tentacles out there and more members known for what they're great at. So I know we're almost at the end of our time. Is there anybody that we would like to invite to a future, jam session beyond these projects that we mentioned? Is there just a big topic or somebody you think would be great if we could get them?
You mean like to lead a jam session?
Well, yeah, just to invite, as a guest, or are there, and you don't have to answer right now if nobody comes to mind, but who do we think it would be fun to jam with, that could contribute to this conversation?
Okay. Okay, so the Google Doc, is that shared with all of us now?
Which one? This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is publicly accessible for anybody that's got that that link.
Okay, so can you just put it in the chat box?
Sure. And I am being kind of trusting here. So I guess what I'll probably end up doing is copying this periodically, because conceivably somebody could go in there and really mess with the document. But hey, it's open space. I'm honoring that that idea, and we're going to just make it accessible and trust, right? So
Right.
if anybody wants to add, feature columns, there's nothing magical about me doing it. I'm also putting a video link to the recorded meeting from past sessions right here too, just to make it kind of easy. So yeah, you don't just.
Will be in the document?
Pardon?
The video link is going to be in the document?
Yeah, do you see right there on line 13, it says video link to recorded meeting, and then there's a link.
Oh,
So
okay, great.
once this one is processed, I'll put that one right here for today's date.
All right. Thank
Cool.
you so much. Good to see all of you.
Yeah, good to see all of you as well. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
And Scott, if you have time to stick around, I do. I don't know if anybody else does. I'm going to stop recording the meeting, but